This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always taking you to your highest vibes. We're bringing you the best in modern medicine, the best in alternative wellness, because it's all about mind, body, and energy. So we got Jordan Ryan O'Hara today. He is the founder and CEO of Wind and Sea Coffee. What's up, Jordan?
What's up, Ryan? What's up, Chris? Thanks for having me on today.
Yes, Chris and I are pumped to have you. Chris, how's Miami today, brother?
I feel like a dog. I'm sitting here basking in the sun. I'm getting a little sleepy, relaxed. I'm feeling good because we got a good guest today, and I'm stoked for the conversation.
Got that mid-afternoon vibes there in Miami. But, Jordan, we're pumped to have you on. Being the
Me too, man.
Hey, everybody loves coffee. Our energy in one way, shape, or form, especially when it gets infused and done. That's why I always love the infused things, you know? Like I like combining my stuff together. Like that's the best world.
Totally. Yeah.
Jordan, where's home for you? Did I hear San Diego?
Yeah. I'm based out of San Diego, California, originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I don't know if you've seen Breaking Bad, but it's pretty spot on, dude. It really captures like something about that place. But yeah, anyway, I moved to Oregon, did 4 years of college there, joined the military, kind of got stationed around a few different places, and then mostly based out of San Diego and Oceanside. And now this is where I call home. So I love it.
Yeah, man. Have you all now? Is the coffee thing like a lifelong interest, or just something purely that kind of came out of, I know, and we'll get to your story here shortly, but I'm just curious, is the coffee was always in the blood, so to speak?
So, honestly, not like in a sense that I was like a coffee connoisseur or anything like that growing up. Drank coffee, but, was never really thought about it all that much. And I think, being in the military, our nation's wars are fueled on caffeine and nicotine, so that was sort of like really where you're like, all right, dude, my real relationship started with coffee. But in that sense, you're not really looking at it from the flavor profiles and the roasts and stuff. You're just like, what's going to get me through the night kind of, vibe. But then coming out, getting into holistic wellness, which, we can get into. But yeah, what you were just saying in the intro about like infusing something, combining those things, there's this concept called habit stacking. And when I was, first getting into some of this holistic medicine, plant medicine, adaptogens, et cetera, you're buying tinctures and capsules and this type of stuff, but they're kind of just sitting in your cabinet and you're not getting any of the benefit if you're not taking them. So, and I would forget to take them. So I was like, man, how do I figure out a way of, I'm already making this time every single day. I don't need to remember. It's the first thing I think about when I get up in the morning is I'm going to go make coffee, right? So you go over there and what if, it kind of occurred to me, like, what if I could combine these two steps? And that way, just the ritual of making coffee and enjoying it was to kind of like taking my medicine in a sense.
I love the habit stacking. Maybe Chris has heard of that. I haven't heard of that, but I like that.
Yeah. It's hard because, new habits are hard and they have to be sustainable. It's got to be something you can do for the long run. You have to enjoy it. And one of the best, easiest ways of implementing a new habit is if you can habit stack with something that you're already doing. So kind of like a life hack concept that applies to other things, but I just adapted it to my product and it made sense for me.
How's were you the Navy thing and getting into the armed services? Like, was that historical? Like, you knew you were going to do that? Like, what led to that sort of path, and maybe leading to your unfortunate injury and things like that? But what was kind of the background that led into the military experience?
Yeah, so I do have, like, my dad was in the Air Force, my sister's in the Air Force. But I didn't really have, like, I wasn't like following a family tradition or anything like that. Honestly, I was in college. I was an undergraduate at the University of Oregon, and I was a finance major. And I loved college, loved Oregon, loved, studying finance. But right around like my sophomore year, probably or maybe junior year, that's what it was. Like your junior year, you're kind of looking at like, okay, I better go to career fairs. I got to figure out like we got to get a job. So I'm walking around. I'm kind of looking. I'm like, yeah, I never really thought about like what is a finance job, So I'm going to all these, and I'm seeing it's like banks and like credit unions. I'm like, dude, what did I just do to myself? Like, I 0% want to do this. I felt like I was like a martial artist. Like I loved being outside and like just, I was kind of like an adrenaline junkie, bombing hills and stuff like that. And so being 21 and kind of facing this prospect of like, oh, you're just going to go be a desk jockey for like the remainder of your working career. I just felt like I was sort of like wasting my youth and sort of this like fire that I had to go do something fun and exciting that wasn't work at a bank. And so kind of against the best wishes of my mom, who when I told her, she was like very upset. But yeah, I was like, I want to join the Navy. I want to be a Navy SEAL. Like this is what I'm going to do after school. And so that went over like a lead balloon, but
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how long your dad served. My dad was also in the Air Force. So that
nice.
Remind me of that. So we appreciate your service here being Veterans Day week, the week of this recording.
I appreciate that.
Did your dad like a lifelong server or just did like a normal tour? Or like
no, just like a normal tour. So he's funny. He is like the least veteran. Like he didn't even know he could get VA healthcare. Like he was just sort of, I think he went, I don't remember the order of this, but he was in the Forest Service and then the Air Force. It may have been Air Force and then Forest Service. But while he was in the Forest Service, he like lived in a tent for like 4 years. He was just like kind of like a hippie a little bit up in Big Bear area. So Lake Arrowhead, that kind of. So I think for him, it was just sort of like, I don't know, like maybe something a little similar now that I'm thinking about it. Like he's just like, I don't really want to grow up yet, and I'd rather go eat mushrooms in a tent, So
there you go. More than one way to do it. One way to
right.
Talk about your the process. I mean, so you end up getting an injury. I think that fueled a lot of your passion into the coffee business. What happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the military, I'm actually at this point, I'm kind of fast forwarding through some of my military service, but I went to a ship and then I became a medic, so a corpsman, and specifically within the Marine Special Operations community. So the MARSOC community, I think they're called Raider battalions now, but at the time it was MARSOC. In any case, I'm a medic and I'm going through training and doing some other stuff, and I have like a bad back injury. And at some point, I'm here trying to recover. I'm trying to get back into my job, because your reputation is everything. You don't want to let anybody down. All the stuff. And at some point, it's occurring to me that like I may not get better. That may be the end of this road, and that was like a huge, like, just sink in the pit of my stomach. Like my identity is heavily tied into my job title. I might be losing my job, which is losing, my income, losing all of this other stuff. I'm losing my identity. I'm losing respect in my community. I'm losing mobility. I can't run or lift or, do any of these things that I like. And so I went through like a really kind of dark period. At this time, I was, getting injections, taking different medications, going to physical therapy, doing, surgeries, all this stuff, trying to figure out how to make myself better so I can get back to my job. And none of these things were working. And in addition to them not really working, I was having a lot of second and third order side effects from the medications or, just bad reactions to, surgery or injection or whatever the case is. And so I kind of shifted my mindset at that point to be like, if I'm going to have to manage this for the long run, I want to figure out how to do it in a sustainable way that is not going to negatively impact the health of like my organs, or, you know, I just don't want to be, during this time I'm going through the VA healthcare system, which isn't as bad as it's kind of chalked up to be, but I'm walking through the hospital and you see these like salty Vietnam vets, and they're, you know, waiting in line for their pharmacy stuff and yelling at some clerk because they're cutting him off on the pills that, you know, and it was really sad. And it was kind of an eye-opening, like, I bet that guy didn't think he was going to be there either. You know what I mean? Like, I bet when he was my age, or he was, you know, 21 or 20, he didn't think he would be yelling for opioids at, you know, somebody at the VA hospital. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. I really, really don't. And so I need to figure out how to manage this. And so that's what kind of got me exploring plant medicine, and beyond that, just like holistic health in general. I mean, even stuff as simple as like yoga, man, like yoga, super transformational. Pilates. I started doing Pilates about 2 years ago. Amazing, dude. It was actually created for, like, I think in World War II. Yeah. It was like for war veterans that had gotten injured, you know, and then it became just the thing that chicks do to get juicy booties. But
hey, I'm a Pilates guy too, bro. That's why
I love it.
Because you're the only other dudes
it's
ever had on, and maybe that I've ever met.
Yeah,
that speaks so highly of it and proudly.
Don't blow our secret, dude. This is if you know, you know. That's right. But stuff like that. You know, I was doing sound baths. I tried that. You know, a whole bunch of like I did ketamine therapy. I did. I haven't done ayahuasca, but I've done a number of mushroom trips, and I'm trying to think of another. Ice baths. You know, and then on a more daily use basis, I was taking CBD and functional mushrooms, which were helping kind of manage that stress and inflammation through like your cortisol production, kind of dampens that down, helps you get better sleep, just helps head to toe. There's all these different mushrooms, and they kind of affect different systems. But essentially what they're trying to do, what all this is trying to do, is get you back into a state of homeostasis, which is like essentially just balance, where you feel good, you don't feel fatigued, you don't feel brain fog, you don't feel anxiety or stress or any of that stuff. And so, yeah, that was where I was doing. And then, like I mentioned earlier, it was like, all right, great, figured one thing out, but now I got to figure out how to remember to take it every day. And so that's what kind of led me to coffee, and the rest is history.
What's the, when we say adaptogens, let's have a little bit of a, I don't know, for our audience, and even me on some level.
It's a buzzword right now, right? It's all about packaging, but what is it?
Right?
Totally.
So let's break down what that exactly means, and what are adaptogens, the different types maybe, and the types maybe in your coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. So adaptogen.
And what the hell does adaptogen mean?
Well, it's kind of funny because it seems like this very like esoteric word, like adaptogen. But really, what it is sort of in the title. It's an adaptogen. So it helps your body adapt to external stressors. That's largely, like a blanket term. That's what it is. It's kind of also an umbrella term that houses other different superfoods, I guess. It's at some point you're like trying to figure out other synonyms to call them without, you know what I mean? So adaptogens are this blanket term that includes roots, fungi, herbs, and plants that all help your body adapt to external stressors. So some that you have probably heard of if you're not familiar with like the functional mushrooms and all that stuff. Ginseng. Ginseng is an adaptogen. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen. Those would be under the like root, I believe both of those are kind of roots. But
is lion's mane considered adaptogen?
Yes. So there's one of the categories is a functional mushroom. Functional mushrooms are one of these. They would be under like the fungi category of the adaptogen. And yeah, there's a whole bunch. Lion's mane is one of them. Another one that people wouldn't think is one, but is shiitake. Like shiitake mushrooms, those are a medicinal mushroom. And I like to tell people when they get kind of like, oh, is this going to, they're a little bit concerned about what it's going to do. Am I going to pass a drug test? And I'm like, you should be as worried about this as you are about eating shiitake mushrooms. You know what I mean? It's that level of risk that you're taking. But yes, so lion's mane is one of them. Lion's mane is actually this pretty crazy looking mushroom. It's like a giant white ball. It looks like a lion's head kind of. And it's really good for cognitive function, memory, focus, creativity. And I think one of the coolest things about lion's mane is its ability to regenerate nerve and brain cells, which was something that, up until fairly recently was, if you lost nerve function or, you had like a traumatic brain injury that was, killed a lot of brain cells, that was sort of like, man, that sucks, but we didn't know there was a way to kind of get you back. Now, Paul Stamets, have you heard of that guy? He's like the mushroom king. He's been on Rogan a few times. He has this concept. He calls it the Stamets stack, I believe. And it's lion's mane, psilocybin, like microdose psilocybin, and niacin. So like vitamin B, whatever B number that niacin is. But what it does, so the niacin helps flush and get all of the like polysaccharides, beta glucans out into the distal extremities. So like your fingertips and like toes all across. And then the psilocybin and lion's mane are what are helping regenerate, these nerve and brain cells. So it's pretty miraculous stuff. And I think the real magic happens sort of in the formulation and the combination. So, because you can have functional mushroom or even with other adaptogens formulated for focus, formulated for sleep. And hey, I have a hard time falling asleep. Well, if you take chamomile, jujube, polygala, and reishi, you'll be knocked out and for the rest of the night and wake up not feeling hungover or like you tried doing it with a nightcap kind of deal. So it's pretty awesome.
I love it. I always just thought the shiitakes were for my hibachi. I'm getting hungry.
Egg roll.
My hibachi. I love some hibachi.
Yeah. You catch the shrimp in your mouth. Yeah, dude.
I was like, tasting. It sounded good. But I do love some mushrooms. I like eating them though, like all kinds.
Yeah.
So.
Totally.
I did not know. I learned something. We're students on this show too. That's why we have great guests on like you, like learning, that shiitake is actually a adaptogen in its own right.
Yeah, it is.
And what sort of led to your formulation? Like when you're making the coffee and what are the things that kind of inspired your blends?
Yeah, absolutely. So our very first products were just CBD infused because, at this point, I'm kind of riding out my time in the military. Like I'm being medically separated and I wanted to smoke weed so bad, dude. But I was just like, it's not worth like blowing all of my benefits, in the final stretch right now. But I was like, I never really tried CBD. And I hear, it has all these benefits, blah, blah, blah. So I started taking it and, you don't get high from CBD. It doesn't have that same sort of psychoactive effects, but it was really helping with sort of my anxiety. It was helping sleep better. And so then I was taking it with coffee because now caffeine was sort of like spiking my anxiety too. If I'm already feeling anxious and like I'm not like, oh God, not in a good mental space, you go and throw a stimulant in on that mix and your cortisol is going way up. You're going to feel jittery. You're going to feel anxious. So I was taking CBD in the morning. And anyway, my first product was infusing it with CBD. And that was sort of what I was trying to do, was sort of help mitigate the jittery, anxious feelings of caffeine. But trying to scale a CBD infused food company is like smashing your face against the wall because it feels good when you stop. It was so brutal. you are treated on one hand like a legit company because you're legal in all 50 states, you're taxed, you got to do all the paperwork, you got to do all that stuff. But on the other hand, you are conflated with cannabis. So people are afraid to take you. Platforms don't let you advertise. You can't do Google ads. You can't accept PayPal. You can't accept Stripe. It's like all these freaking rules. And, but I was getting customers that were like, I love this. Like, this is the first copy that, tastes good, but it also is giving me these benefits, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I was really involved in this space now and just like exploring all these different things. I had also, I went to school up in Oregon. I was very familiar with psychedelic mushrooms. So, and I had known that there was a lot of movement in the space through like MAPS, which is like the study of psychedelic research for PTSD. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I was like, I want to learn more about the mushroom side of things and the mushroom science. And so then I started exploring all these different mushrooms. I was finding different tinctures and whatnot and trying to figure out how I could infuse it. Essentially, what I landed on was a distillate that is glycerin based. A lot of extracts are alcohol based, which taste like shit, and they're like very like, So if you're gonna infuse your coffee with it, it's just gonna like totally ruin your coffee. So I found one that was the flavor was very mild. It was a glycerin base, so it was water soluble, and it just didn't taste like shit. And all the mushrooms, I mean, they were triple extracted, which like 10x the beta glucans. So I'm saying a bunch of stuff right now. I'll like kind of back up for a second. So within these functional mushrooms, there are a number of different compounds that are beneficial. But one of the big ones is called beta glucan, and it's specifically found in mushrooms. And when you get these extracts, oftentimes it might be like a dried mushroom, and it could be like double extracted. That's pretty common. And so you might get like 10%, let's say, beta glucan levels. Well, based on this triple extracted distillate with, it has 14 different mushrooms. So again, kind of like a head to toe thing. We were getting 10x the beta glucan output. So all this to say that it made it very bioavailable, which means your body can like actually get the benefits from the extracts. And I was finding that, I was having a whole bunch of benefits in the regards to like stress support, sleep support, not having that midday crash, when you drink your coffee and then, you're like, oh God, I like zonked out. It was helping give kind of this sustained energy over a longer period of time, kind of closer to like an L-theanine, if people are familiar with like matcha. That's what people love matcha for these days, is because it's a little bit of caffeine, but it's also this other molecule called L-theanine, which it doesn't have that like that caffeine does, But yeah, that was a long answer to say. We just found the stuff that worked well, tasted good, because I was trying all this other mushroom coffees and coffee substitutes and mud water and rise and Forsomatic and all this stuff. And almost every one of them to the T is really selling you on the benefits of the mushrooms because they're real, 100%. But all of them tasted awful, and you had to do so much crap to it to make it to enjoyable. And I'm like, what habit am I really gonna stick with if I'm like, okay, time for coffee, And so I'm like, I want to be the mushroom coffee for coffee lovers. We use whole bean coffee, so it's not ground. We use a liquid distillate when we're infusing. So, like I mentioned about the bioavailability, and just whole bean coffee stays fresh longer, so we can really focus on the flavor profile. It's whole beans, so you can grind if you like French press, or if you want to do espresso, and grind really, really fine. You could do that, and it's not going to, you don't have to rethink how your morning routine, I guess.
Chris, I know you turned me on to a lot of the functional mushrooms. So I know you've been a proponent for a long time.
Yeah, I'm stoked to try it because I've tried all these different blends, and like you named a few brands, Mudwater. It was so complicated. Like, here's your frother, here's the creamer. And it's just like, dude, and maybe we're just so ingrained with coffee culture, but but I think you made a great point, which is they haven't made one for coffee lovers, right? They've jumped on the novelty of it and it's cool. And I love the innovation of it. And that was something I definitely appreciate coffee. I'm by no means some connoisseur, right? But taste was always kind of off, or maybe even their blends were just not vibing with me sometimes. Some were too strong. Some I didn't feel anything at all. So I'm stoked to try it, but I just love the fact that you explained even the extraction, because that's the most important thing maybe you said was there's so many brands, putting this stuff on the label, right? You go to Amazon, there's a million brands selling functional mushrooms. So I think you just educated us on that. I'm curious. Okay, these brands I've been using, what extraction method are they using? Because we have doctors on all the time and we talk about bioavailability, right? So if it's only 10% bioavailability, it's pointless. I'll just drink my normal coffee and I'll take a supplement. But if you figured out a way to do it, I'm super intrigued to try yours.
Oh, dude, I can't wait to send you guys some. But yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I tried those. One time I was making a mud water. It was the first time I had gotten it. It was really early in the morning. It's probably 6 a.m. and it's still kind of dark out. And I'm put the frother in the cup and boiling water in there. And there's a way you're supposed to hit it like an angle, I guess, but I didn't know this. So I just go straight down and it creates a mud water volcano, and I'm like, dude, it is too early for this shit. People like coffee. They like the coffee culture. They like, I was just doing a bunch of pitch decks and stuff this last year. And so I was going through all these different statistics. And I think there's something, so 75% of Americans drank coffee yesterday. It was the single highest polled drink above bottled water, and then tap water was number 3. It was higher than water. And I forget the exact number, but I think it was maybe a really high percentage of people have tried to quit coffee because they hear, they're like, oh, I don't like how it makes me feel, or caffeine's bad, whatever it is. And 9 out of 10 of those people come back within 30 days. And and the number one reason that they attribute is taste. They like coffee. They like the smell of it. They like, walk into a coffee shop and, it's just there is culture around it too, and I think that's something that is hard for people to just give up because there's a health benefit to something else,
It's about how long I lasted when I quit, 30 days. And I live, there's 3 coffee shops around my place. So it's
yes,
it's hard to walk.
Off the smell. As soon as you walk out,
coffee.
And if you close your eyes, the smell.
Because there's at this point, there's emotional ties to that for me, right? There's
totally.
How do we know when the adaptogens are, Chris and I have had this discussion, and we're in the space. We own Vacay, a plant-based company, and talk with a lot of different people. And if people don't feel something, it's hard, or they're not doing regular blood work. It's hard to get people excited about different things. Do you get feedback that people, and when you're drinking your coffee, you feel different? Is there, and I'm not talking about a buzz as much as just, a certain effect.
Yeah. So, yes. And to acknowledge what you're saying as true, some of these things are subtle, or you have to take them, for an extended period of time. It's not I'm trying to think of something you could take, a Tylenol or something where you're I'm in pain. You take 1 Tylenol. I'm not in pain. That's a pretty A, B. Okay. You can see this one. You may have to take it for a week and different people are going to, respond slightly differently, but I have gotten a lot of positive feedback. And one of the most, here's 2 positive stories that, I had a customer that, purchased our, mocha powder. So it was our Loca Mocha. It's a mushroom hot cocoa mix, right? I mix it with my coffee and I kind of make a mocha at home, But in any case, so he had purchased some and he wrote me, a couple weeks later, and he was like, I've been taking your stuff for about a week and I wanted to try if it was working. So he was doing some data entry in Excel. Okay. So Monday he was doing it. Tuesday he was doing it. He said, Monday, I did my normal thing, took, 30 milligrams of Adderall and would just kind of, hit it hard. He's like, I was ripping my Juul, like the vape pen, all day. And he's like, by 5 o'clock, I was just like, like tweaking, just feeling awful, and he's like, but I got X number of cells entered. Okay. He said the next day I was like, I'm going to try just doing this with the Locomoca. He said, I didn't hit my Juul all day. He took like 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams. Like it was like a fraction of the Adderall that he had taken. And he said by the end of the day, he had gotten more inputted and felt way better at the end of the day. So that was like a very, he was kind of doing the experiment on himself. Like, okay, what happens when I do it the way I'm doing it? And then what happens when I try this alternative? And, could some of that benefit been attributed to not ripping your Juul all day and, taking 20 milligrams fewer of Adderall that day? Probably. I'll acknowledge that. But the point is, by implementing this product, he was able to make better habits on that second day and be just as productive and ultimately feel better. Because one thing that we get caught in is this like cycle. So a perfect example is like, right, you wake up, you're super tired, you slam your coffee, you go to work, you're working, you hit that 3 o'clock wall, you crush an energy drink, you work till 5, but the half-life of that caffeine is operating on you till like 9 p.m. So you have a shitty night's rest, or let's back it up a little bit. You're not feeling tired, right? So now you crush 2 nightcap whiskeys so you can get to sleep. You wake up the next day, you're like kind of hungover. You didn't sleep very well. So you drink more coffee to get you through the next day. And you see how we create these feedback loops, this like spiral to the bottom, and like before you know it, you feel like shit. You're always tired. You're not sleeping, and this is just your existence. And you're constantly playing internal chemistry, with the internal chemistry strat to get you back to just feeling like normal. So I think what this does by implementing it is it helps you break those kind of like destructive cycles so that you can let your body kind of get back to that place of normal. And I also believe that you got to do this in conjunction with a whole lifestyle of holistic stuff. Like you should, go outside for a little bit, do some exercise, walk around, eat good foods, spend time with your family. All of these things are part of a holistic lifestyle. And if you were implementing all of these things, I guarantee your life would feel better. You would be, more productive, of the best version of you. It's kind of how I like to frame it, is you're trying to be the best version of you.
Yeah, that's the key. And that's at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is empower people with knowledge and these things. Because I think a lot of people go through that cycle of, stimulants, non-stimulants, a lot of different things. And, knowing that there's these modalities and different outlets that some get highlighted more than others and, don't require a prescription or, don't have the habitual nature to them that might actually help you kill or kick some habits. That's the shame of it all, right? That it takes, destigmatizing these things. It's crazy.
Well, I was just going to say, you said it earlier, and we kind of talked about this briefly in the pre-show, but it's the destigmatizing and the normalizing and the educating that I see yes, I'm selling a product, but the reason I'm on your podcast isn't because I'm trying to sell coffee. It's because I want to, my mission is to be an advocate and to help educate people, and especially people in the veteran community, or maybe anyone that is living like a high stress life, but isn't culturally inundated with some of these, hippy dippy modalities. I live in Southern California, dude. Like I could throw a cat and hit 4 yoga studios. Yeah, but
I'd be okay with that personally, but I'll probably get some hate mail, but I'm just not a cat guy.
Not a cat guy.
Yeah. Chris has 4 of them, but I still love them.
Oh, it's a
Doesn't
he's
lie.
like,
Don't even put that in the I got a 90-pound chocolate Labrador. I'm definitely not.
Chris has like
Pussy
the
need love
guy.
too.
Chris has like 120-pound lab sitting in front of him.
Oh
at the
yeah, you
store.
got a big boy.
So I'm screwing with him.
That's awesome.
That's here, buddy.
But people in like the military and law enforcement and even just people, you know, I don't like to break everything down into like political, you know, divides, but like you could say that people traditionally more right of center, more conservative leaning may have more of an aversion to things like mushrooms. Oh, isn't that a drug? You know, or like, I don't know. I don't trust any of that hippy dippy woo woo stuff. You know, anyone with that mindset, let's step away from politics. Because anyone with that mindset, I'm want to be out there and be like, hey, you know, I'm an athlete. I'm a veteran. I'm an aggressive, you know, person. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, you know, I'm a hard charger. But I have found that by implementing some of these like softer, more like balanced approaches into my life, it has made everything better, you know, and when I'm out there just lifting every day, like I'm just going to go lift weights, you know, it's like, it's too much, you know, if you need yin and yang, it's too much yang. You need to implement some yin. And so I'm here to advocate for the yin side of things to these communities that are a little more the yang gang, you know?
Yeah, for sure. That's the irony. Chris and I, you know, are contrary.
I can see it. I can see it
too. You know, we're not the leftist guys normally either. Rather farthest thing from it.
Right.
Definitely more independent than anything, but I think, but definitely hard charging, entrepreneurial, and definitely, I think this is where the politics got to get out of the way of the practical, like reality of like evolution. And like, we live really with some dated shit. And it's like the fact that we have soldiers coming back from serving our country and having to fight to get to, you know, potentially the, you know, like the mushrooms or even the MDMA stuff, like all the stuff that's being proven to like be some of the, it's just nonsense. And because of lifelong, you know, the war on drugs and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. And that's where I think what's so awesome about like the kind of overlap between veteran mental health and psychedelic research is it is truly a bipartisan issue. You know, left, right, center, up, down, black, white, doesn't matter. Yeah. Everyone is in agreement that, hey, if this is helping the veterans, like we should like at least study it, right? You know, it doesn't mean we need to go just put it for sale on every street corner, but like, why aren't we doing more to understand how these things could help veterans and then by extension, the rest of us, you know? But I think that the veteran component has been a very crucial piece to getting past that war on drugs mindset.
Nailed it. Oh, where can everybody keep up with you, man? Everything you're doing, your coffee, all that stuff. Yeah.
So if you guys want to give me a follow, it's on @Windansea Coffee. And it's WINDANSEA Coffee. There's no D in the and. Also, WindanseaCoffee.com. That's where you can order everything. We also do monthly subscriptions. You get everything 30% off if you want it come in to your house regularly. You can mix and match, super easy. Also, I started a podcast like 2 to 3 months ago ish. It's called The Mind Body Mushroom. And yeah, it's pretty like in its early stages, you know, but I'm just sort of, I don't want to have like analysis paralysis where I'm like, oh, I don't want to release it. It's not perfect. I don't have a good intro. I don't have, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, screw it, dude. Let's just record it, publish it, and just get in the habit of doing this week in, week out. And before you know it, you know, then a year, 2 years, 3 years, all of a sudden you're like, you've built something that is worth it. But the mission there is just doing exactly what we did here, you know, talking about people's stories, how holistic health has transformed their life and, you know, trying to find tips that other people can takeaway. See if there's anywhere else. I got a YouTube channel, just Win Nancy Coffee YouTube, and that's pretty much it. I'd love if you guys find me on anything, you have any questions, shoot me a DM. I'm very approachable, and I think a huge component of this is trying to build community. So that's what I want. It's not weird if you guys reach out to me, please do. I think it's awesome. And I love the way that social media and podcasting and all this stuff has been able to connect each other and really move this industry and this movement forward.
Totally agree. Any final words, Chris?
I'm stoked to try the coffee and just appreciate you coming on, Jordan. You're a lot of different topics we touched on, and I think a lot of important things. So I'm stoked what you're doing, and encourage everyone check it out. Win and See Coffee.
Yeah. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate you coming on. Hey guys, you know where to find us, vibescience.com. You'll find all the links, the insights, and the sparks from today's episode with Jordan. We'll have links to his coffee, his social media, and YouTube channel, all at vibescience.com. And we appreciate you for listening. We're always trying to take you to your highest vibe. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.